Final Fantasy just dropped a trailer that really is diving into the lore of the game. And if you were curious more about like, okay, how many characters, what's this world going to be? Because it seems like every Final Fantasy game is basically a different world. Yeah, we finally got to look at that. Game of Thrones, the Final Fantasy game. As somebody that is not, if you're curious, I'm not really like, I respect Final Fantasy from afar, but I'm not a fan. I've only played 10, 15. I think that's it, actually. So I'm going to let you guys take the reign on this. And I'm just curious, how different is this world compared to other Final Fantasy games?
So, okay, hold on.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go first, dude.
Hold on, but even before I talk about 16, I need to ask. You played 10 and 15. You played literally my favorite Final Fantasy game and my least favorite Final Fantasy game. So I need to ask, before we get into this, I need to ask.
So 15 was your favorite, right?
15 was my least favorite. I absolutely... Shut up!
Okay.
So I need to ask, like, what did you dislike from both games that you played? Like, what kind of put you off the series?
Well, and nothing really put me off of it. It's just one of those. I've never played an Assassin's Creed. I've never played a Resident Evil.
Oh wow!
I only recently played a God of War. Like, there's just some franchises I haven't touched. So there was nothing about Final Fantasy. It was just one of those franchises I never got to. I watched a lot of people play. I've heard a lot of people talk about. So nothing put me off about those games. But I'll tell you what. In regards to 16, though, because there was a previous report about like we don't want 16 to be an open world game. In fact, it's not going to be that. If you didn't know, now you know. Yeah. And they just want it to be a much more focused, streamlined experience. I am super for that. And this trailer kind of shows how it really could be that. I don't know, Onix, what else do you got about Final Fantasy 16?
So I'll try to keep it short because I could talk about 15 or 16 and Final Fantasy in general for a long time. I mean, I made a video analyzing a trailer. The previous trailer, I spent like 10 minutes just analyzing every little bit of footage. But this game, I mean, so if you know a little bit about the developers, right? Yoshi P and his staff at Creative Business Unit 3, they turned around Final Fantasy 14, right? They turned that launch was awful, and they turned around to be essentially the biggest MMO, right? And they are now able to tell a story they've been wanting to tell in their own way, right? Square Enix really trusts them. This, as you can see, looks to be the most mature Final Fantasy. It looks to be the most violent Final Fantasy.
For sure.
It is a Final Fantasy that, per Yoshi P's interviews, is made for new fans, to bring in new fans, but also to the people that grew up playing Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 15 was supposed to be that.
That's a good point.
And it didn't really do that well. It tried to be too much at the same time. This looks so laser focused on delivering what they want to deliver. Like, I'm like super hyped for the 7 Remake series as well. I like 7. I'm really big into 7 Remake. But this game, like, I look at those trailers and all I see is this confidence in every single screen that whether it's a good game or a bad game, it's a game they want to make. And I love that. I love when I see that in gaming, and it's like, yes, it's a AAA game. Hundreds of people have touched this game, but this is a vision, a singular vision shared by these people, and it excites me because, God, it looks good. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. And
the thing that I just want to comment on and let Rudy go as well, but I just about being, like as you said, like I'm a new fan or whatever, and I just that's something I've always respected about Final Fantasy, is that every game is its own entry. That's what it feels like. Every game is its own entry, and that's super cool. You don't have to play the previous. No. And one of my biggest issues with 15, and that goes with this trailer, was, as you said, like they introduced so much at once. Go watch the movie if you want more context. Watch this anime.
The anime on YouTube.
So much stuff that you had to do, but it seems like this game, they're as a follow-up, they're like, okay, let's just make a solid game. Doesn't need to be massive. Doesn't need to expand. Rudy, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel all giddy and warm inside, man. I'm ridiculously excited for this game. Now, I do want to go ahead and add with what you mentioned about 15. One of just a little thing that I did not like about it, because I did play it at launch, was that it came out incomplete. And there were important story segments that were not delivered right then and there at launch. In terms of like Final Fantasy overall, I played a good amount. I played 8, 9, 8 being my first one, 10. I did not play 10-2, which Onix always makes fun of me for that. I will one day. 13, 13-2, 15, obviously, and 4. 4 is absolutely amazing. But there's still a lot that I would like to see within the franchise. I'm going to reiterate a lot of things that Onix has already said. This looks like a Game of Thrones of Final Fantasy. Yeah. Like, it looks mature. It looks like they are hitting everything that's there. There's, for anime fans, there is a little bit of Attack on Titan influence, in my opinion. And I think Onix agrees with that, with seeing the summons and whatnot. Or actually, they're the icons, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they're icons in this one. And like, the combat is really good. They have people from Devil May Cry.
Can I ask a quick question about that? Sorry, the icon thing. Is that just their new way of doing Aeon? You know, like that's their new Aeon thing in this? Because isn't that a theme of a lot of the games, having summonable Aeons?
The name, right? Like every Final Fantasy has a form of summon, and they have sometimes different names. Like an 8, they're called Guardian Forces and stuff. So in this game they're called icons, but it seems to be different. It's like there's someone is actually part of that character, like you said,
and I think that's cool.
Style.
Yep. Sorry. Keep going, Rudy. Sorry.
No worries. So yeah, like this reminded me of Attack on Titan, kind of getting that where you see people transform into these icons, and there are political ramifications that are in there as well. I loved Final Fantasy 12, for the record. I enjoyed it. I barely remember the story because it's been forever, but that was one of the few games where I put in 100+ hours growing up, like where I finished it. There was no DLC at the time. Like, it was like, once it was done, but I literally did everything, all the jobs and everything. This reminds me of that political nature of it. So you have your action, you have your maturity, you have the political, well, seemingly political interwoven stories and things like that. This just seems like everything. Like, I'm being hesitant because 15 was 15, but this looks so good. The clout behind it is amazing. Like, I'm getting chills just freaking talking about it. It's gonna be good. I'm excited.
I did tune into you guys' reaction. I just see Rudy. What was it? He's like, wasn't that kind of amazing?
Yeah, dude. And there's gonna be sex, so that's cool.
And there's gonna either that or the aftermath. It's either that or the aftermath.
Probably the aftermath. You know, they'll be classy about it. They'll be like, hey, these people totally did it, but hey, we're not gonna show you guys. We're classy.
What I just want to say,
but that's cool. You know?
What I just want to say to potentially cap it is you guys are much more experienced than me as Final Fantasy fans. So, and that's like, I love this because I'm getting insight as somebody that, you know, has only played a couple of the games and has observed them. And I do have friends that love them. The thing that I am digging in this the most, and as you guys are saying, you know, Game of Thrones, Attack on Titan, potential influence, this trailer specifically, they talk a lot about the factions and the setting of the world. This is Final Fantasy 16. This is the situation that this Final Fantasy is in. And with all these different factions and kingdoms, instead of just focusing on the one potentially, I'm really hoping that they can figure out how to tell a tale that really... there is not necessarily just a straight bad guy. I like the idea... because there is a main character you play as, and you see that briefly in this again. But I'm just worried about it bouncing around between too many things and too many potential people to try to relate to. So I'm really hoping they pull that off. That was the main thing I came away with this trailer, that I'm like, I love that. I hope you can execute it. So
I have faith because they have said that the story will take place. Like the main character, Clive, we're going to see him go through his teens into his 20s and even to his 30s. So we're talking somehow 3 decades worth of story within this game, right? Condensed into this, you know, I'm assuming 40 to 70 hour adventure. I'm just going to throw a number out there. I don't know. I think they'll be able to do it because you're right. I don't think it's going to be one singular villain. My theory is that he's wanting revenge for the death of his friend Joshua. That's literally my theory. And he's trying to get all these people at certain points in his life. You know, whether it takes him 10 years to do so or 20 or whatever the case may be, it's going to be very interesting. But that's my take on it, right? So I think that it's just going to be this almost Aaron like I'm gonna go for everybody because everybody hate people, and I'm for it. I'm for it.
Yeah, I kind of vibe with what Onix said. Also, like Final Fantasy 14, like is massive. It is massive, and there are a lot of. I haven't played it. Like Crystal said in chat, I did technically start it, but I have not gone any further just because of the time commitment. Again, being a dad, but there is a huge story that's there, and there are a lot of interwoven characters, lore, everything kind of like just combines into this massive epic tale. Condense that into, what Onix said, a 40, 70-hour game. I think it's totally doable. I think it'll be fine. And we've seen in previous Final Fantasy titles where you think that the main enemy is X, and then all of a sudden there's somebody else behind them. And then even sometimes there's somebody else behind them as well. I think there's a lot of space for story and development with these characters. And 30-year span, dude, yes, please.
That's something that I don't think very many games have done. I can't think of another game that I'm like, you follow this character
like I said,
in a story to that long,
It's going to be, if they execute it right, this could be really something special.